I got to tell you something, guys. The interactions between Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman, to me as a fan, they're very heartwarming. It's very, very cool to see two people that were, I guess they were competing. I was going to say adversaries, but they're not adversaries. They're not like, they never had a feud. You know what I mean? They never like attacked each other on a personal basis. They never tried to tear each other down. I know that Ronnie one year said, that he thought Jay was smoking crack, but that's like elementary stuff. You know what I mean? That's like so like it's hilarious, and I think bodybuilding needs that, and I don't think that we've had that in quite some time. And it's just I don't know. I just think it was really cool. Uh, and it's not just this one video that I'm thinking about, but there's the one where they see each other in the hallway. Uh, they just, there's one, I think, from the Arnold somewhere. I mean, they get along really, really well. And these guys, I mean, literally, down to the wire, 0-1, a lot of people think Jay should have won. A lot of people say, why did he do 0-2? Ronnie came back like it was nobody's business in 2003, blew everybody's minds, mine included. Um, and seeing Jay come back, in 0-4, where he, I wasn't impressed with either really one of them in 0-4, but 0-5, I thought Jay could have pulled it off. He couldn't, or he didn't. And then finally 0-6, I mean, and then you see like how Jay just got bored with bodybuilding, even for 0-7, when Ronnie was trying to do the comeback, they knew that he wasn't, I don't know, maybe that there was still some of that there. There probably was to some extent, but I think once you lose, I mean, I don't know. But when Ronnie was totally out, Jay said many times how bored he was. You know what I mean? It's like I just think that those guys had just a very, very real competitive rivalry, and they were both so big in the sport. Like, they're so good with the fans. I mean, their lines at these expos, they're wild. I mean, they're like, even like when Rich Piana, remember when he was like the biggest thing, right? It didn't matter. I mean, Jay and Ronnie's lines always just. Now Dexter, one year I went, he had Blade Nutrition, and his line was sad. He had like 12 people. That's not Dexter's fault. That's, I would blame on whoever did the marketing and whoever was backing him up with the company, because that's a Mr. Olympia, the winningest pro. He wasn't the winningest pro at the time, but he was getting there, But no, Dexter and, other Olympias, everybody loves them. But when it comes to Ronnie and Jay, even Phil, when Phil was on top, I remember he was like in a box at one of these expos. He had like one of these companies like made a apartment or something. Like, you had to go into this thing. Like, he couldn't be seen in public. Like Phil was just like a real. I don't know if it was Phil or it was the company. Maybe it was the company. I don't know. But it just felt like, it's just always felt like he was so much better than everybody else. Like, I don't know, like, I didn't like it. And he had pretty good lines and he was reigning, but again, not like, Ronnie and Jay. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's great to see these guys like chumming it up, but they're not acting. You know what I mean? And that's what I really, really like. And I like when Jay helps him, because Ronnie has trouble walking and stuff. And if you've watched his documentary, The King, I think it's called, they ask him, do you have any regrets? He's like, yeah, I wish I would have lifted heavier, you know what I mean? So, I mean, Ronnie is a real just, he's bodybuilding. I mean, he's just he's like the Michael Jordan of body. I mean, he really has become like very, very like in here for me. And Jay, Jay very close behind, I feel like, not even behind, just, well, maybe a little bit. Ronnie to me has really become like, I wasn't even a Ronnie fan, to be honest with you. I was a Gustavo Bedell fan. I liked Jay, but I was a big Gustavo Bedell fan. But the thing is, like, yeah, and then seeing Ronnie with Marcus, seeing Ronnie with everybody, basically, he's just like, I don't know. I got a warmer feeling for Ronnie than for Jay, but they're both there. I mean, they're both. I mean, what can you say? What I mean, what could you possibly say? They've grown bodybuilding and grown it since their reigns ended like no one else. I mean, that's like, like they should teach all Mr. Olympias moving forward. This is how you're a Mr. Olympia. This is how you conduct yourself. This is what you do. This is how you're seen. This is how you're heard, that sort of thing. I tell you, a sport of bodybuilding would grow by leaps and bounds if that happened. Because I feel like, a lot of people, like your first Olympia is like your first child. I don't have either. But I would imagine that, it's a lot of trial and error. And the problem is that a lot of these champions, they don't have the luxury of, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 year run. They have 1 year. So during that year, they're, going through all this trial and error. And when they finally sort of have a hang of it, they lose the title. You know what I mean? Like, we saw this happen with, well, it's not fair to say with Sean, because Sean was, I think, done very, very badly, but we won't talk about that. He wasn't allowed to have even the chance of a reign because of what happened. But Sean had the title for a year, okay? But Brandon had it for a year, lost it. Ronnie had it for 2, lost it. And even in the 2, didn't even make an effort to get a hang of it. Just, whatever. Hottie loses it after a year. Derek loses it after a year. So, I mean, we've not had, and Samson better not get too comfortable because, he may also be a 1-year winner. And the other thing that is a proven is that you don't win it back. So far, none of the guys that have tried to win it back have. Brandon hasn't. He was barely in the top 10 this year, sadly. Hottie has tried. He hasn't been able to do it. Rami tried. He wasn't able to do it. So again, there are things that are for certain. And one is that, Rami didn't try. He didn't try. He didn't care. He really didn't. He had zero care. And that to me is really messed up because you're Mr. Olympia. You should want to grow bodybuilding. You should want to just have more companies, have more people. That should be like a big part of what you do. You don't miss events. You stay till the end, where Ronnie and Jay could tell these guys, because some of them aren't like that. Some of them are looking at that clock to get out early when they got there late. And their fans are waiting patiently. They deserve better. And the one thing I can tell you about the fitness industry is they will find better. You're not the only show in town. You're not the only muscular guy or muscular girl. They will find someone else to support. And then, it's like a whole thing. Because then that person is doing a disservice to the fans, right? But by doing a disservice to the fans, they're doing a disservice to the sport. And by doing a disservice to the sport, they're also hurting that company, especially. Because that line is there because they're going to buy product from the company paying them. If that line disappears, why is the company paying? You know what I mean? So it's just like a big deal. And to me, honestly, I just feel like, Jay and Ronnie would have just a huge impact on these guys if there ever was such a thing as a class, but there's not. So let's not talk about it anymore. That was a fun, whatever that was. But I love seeing Ronnie and Jay together. They are just awesome. They grew the sport, 2 model Mr. Olympias. I wish they could teach a class. And it doesn't even have to be just to Olympia winners. It could be to Arnold winners. It could be to all pro bodybuilders, amateur, everybody. Use some of that money for those MPC cards or those IFBB Pro League cards that get you what? Oh, right, the opportunity to compete on the stage. Wow. Yes. Take a couple of bucks out of there, each card, each person, and give them the opportunity to sit down, and hear Ronnie and Jay tell you how to be a bodybuilder. And then if you can't make it, you can watch it on Zoom on demand.